Back with another single shot bolt action 22. Remington this time with the model 514. We've got patents. We've got rabbit holes. Let's take a look. Milsurp Garage, Remington Model 514, single shot, bolt action, 22 caliber rifle, manufactured in 1958. Capable of firing short, long rifle cartridges. 24-inch barrel, 4.13 pounds. Manufactured from 1948 to 1970. Over 750,000 of these things made. $14 was the price at introduction. So this is part of the Remington 500 series of rifles. Here's an ad for the 510, 11, and 12 bolt action 22 caliber rifles. So all three of those were 22 bolt actions. You see down on the bottom the new Remington Model 514. Even though they made $750,000 of these, I don't think they were as popular as the 510, 11, and 12. Just from what I'm reading, it was kind of like a drop off in quality, let's say. The 514 itself only had, let me see, where did I write this down? It was like 32 or 36 parts. Darned if I know where I wrote that. But yeah, they're 32 parts. I have it right here. And that's including the pins and everything that hold it together. It's one of these very, very simplified designs. We have a patent. There was a guy named Lowe who invented this thing, Kenneth J. Lowe. He died. The patent is still attached to him, but somebody else from Remington rolled in and was attached to it. I don't think you could actually patent something straight up to, like, someone who's deceased. So PB Rutherford stood in as the the recipient of this. Or I wish I knew exactly how much work he did on the rifle. Maybe they were just partners working on it. I mean, who knows? But I know that Lowe is credited as the inventor. Let's put it that way. But it's Rutherford's name that you'd see on the patent. So they patented this as a simpler design, but the cost of it was the same amount of money as these other models. And that supposedly hurt sales of it, that at 750,000 of it made. I don't know how that could be possible, but so here's the 514. It's right here. It's sharing advertising space here with, it's funny how there's always DuPont markings. DuPont owned Remington during these periods here. They were heavily involved. And, it always makes me think of, like, the movie Foxcatcher. Every time I see that emblem, it makes me think of that whole story. Crazy. Well, anyway, you see the 521 there on the bottom, which came after. So you can see where this 514 is sandwiched in. That 521, that was a nice rifle. I mean, look at that thing. It's definitely... So for the 514, they list here, it says automatic ejector. You see it there. Remind me later. We have to, we're going to discuss that. Rotary type thumb safety at rear of bolt. I'll show you that. That's part of the patent. New wide face trigger. It does have an interesting trigger. I've never seen this on a Remington before, a trigger that looks like this. Full size one-piece pistol grip of stock of genuine American walnut, which that's a step up from like the Mossbergs we've been doing, which had the birch that was finished with walnut. These Remingtons are straight up walnut. Important safety features. They touted all the safety stuff, like wouldn't fire unless the bolt was closed and the safety was off. I'm like, well, what was happening out there during this period? Where were there rifles that were going off with the bolts open and the safeties on? It makes it, of course it wouldn't fire until the bolts closed. You actually have to like use that as a selling point. It's a little crazy, but it's written. It's all over the place in all the literature. Here's another. And this is from another catalog. It's interesting to find these catalogs. All these catalogs that sold. Before pre-1968, you could just buy a rifle from a catalog and have it shipped right to your house. That's really the way it should be. But without all the red tape, especially these long guns, and so you have a lot of these catalog ads. This one, a distinctively high-grade rifle throughout, designed for lasting service, satisfaction, and unmatched value. Self-cocking on closing bolt, which they're writing that because a lot of these single shots, you actually close the bolt and had to cock it yourself. We've seen that. Automatic ejector is listed there again. We're going to take a look at that. Yeah, so what was special about this patent? Let's take a look at the patent. We'll take a look at some of the variations. Well, here first, let's take a look at the scrolling on it, some of the markings, so we could just get to the bottom of that. Let's just cover the rifle itself here first. Ilion, New York. There's our patent number, 2490922. I like when the patent numbers are right on the rifle. It makes it so much easier to research. And yeah, your regular elevator for the sight. And we can drift this left and right for windage. So it is adjustable. There's the barrel code. Barrel code is AE. There's a 5 there. We're going to ignore the 5. I'm not sure what the 5 is for. But you're always looking for 2 letters. We're going to use this, our Black Powder X barrel date, Remington barrel code decoder, which comes out to March of 1958, which plops this right in the middle of production. Production was 48 to 70. So it's right about in the middle. And the well, I'll tell you what, before we actually take a look at the patent, let's do this. Let's cover the models. This is what's really interesting with these things. First of all, you notice, I thought I'd bring this up. You have the store brand crossover list here. And on this list, we'll have the store brands and what the actual rifles are. And this is a huge list here. This guy that compiled this, it's pretty comprehensive. And if you look on the actual original manufacturers, we have Savage, Springfield, Stevens. Okay, we have Winchester, Marlin, Mossberg, High Standard, some manufacturers I don't even know of, H&R, all the big guys are here. Everybody has store brands, right? I don't see one Remington on here. Here's a Kessler. Remember Kessler? No store brands for Remington. Noble is even on here. Remington did not do that. The Remingtons were very pure with that. They only wanted their name on the stuff. It's very interesting. So we have a few different models here that are just all theirs. And what did I do with that? Here we go. So there was a 514, obviously. That's just this regular version. There was a 514P, which had a peep sight. I think there was a 514A at some point that might have had an optional type of sight, maybe like better sights. It might have had like a bead like a gold bead on the front sight, something like that. If somebody knows, you have to drop it in the comments exactly what the modifications were for the A, but it wasn't much. I think it was just a sight variation, but not as far as a peep sight. The P version was the actual aperture peep sight. There was a 514BC, which was a boy's carbine. So what that was a shorter barrel. It was an 18-inch or a 19-inch barrel. With this same regular stock. Then there was a 514BR, which was a boy's rifle, which was the same 24-inch barrel, but it was the stock that they cut down. They used to do that then. So instead of a big long stock like this, they'd cut it here for shorter arms. So you're not really cutting the barrel shorter, not really making it feel any different in a young boy's arms, let's say, for a boy's rifle, just a shorter barrel. You would make it feel different for him by actually cutting the stock shorter. So the length of pull and where his head sits on the sights and everything is different. And then the barrel could still remain just as long. It's not really going to affect anything. So that's what the boy's rifle was. It was just a cut down stock. Then there was the rabbit hole I went down with the 514SB smooth bore, or it was called a Rutledge bore. That's the first time I had heard that. Now, this definitely wasn't the first rifle that was available with a smooth bore, or what they might have called a Rutledge bore. This was probably the first time I had read that. I don't remember ever seeing it before. And we'll take a look at exactly what that Rutledge barrel is. And the Rutledge barrel is actually a patent. Here's the patent if you're interested. It's 2/185/523. This was granted to F.J. Rutledge, Rutro, in April 12th, 1937. And basically all this is, it shows here, it's this end of the barrel right here. This is what they're honing in on. And then here's what the end of the barrel looks like. This last little bit, these are for shot shells. They show the patterning. Now this is where the rabbit hole thing started. So I found this online, some information on it. And this, the SB, or Rutledge Model, was a smooth bore with a shotgun bead sight, and the muzzle was backbored in order to increase the spread of the 22 shot. So it was, and of this rifle, so the actual amount of these made, the 514s, were 770,932. There were 5,617 Rutledge bore models made. They were meant for use only with 22 shot loads. Again, they had a shotgun-style bead front sight. They have 24-inch smoothbore barrels with a bore diameter of 22 caliber that opens up to 40 caliber for the last 12 inches. These were not in the catalogs. This is not something that you're going to find online. These were special order only. I saw an auction for one, but there were no pictures, so what would be the sense of, but I needed the pictures. The pictures were already taken down. These are very rare. They don't pop up often. And the pictures had already expired on the auction, so I only had the text. But it's true, they are real because I saw an auction. This design originated with Michigan trap shooter and gunsmith Fred Rutledge in 1938. And here's what this thing was. This was used. What was this used for, right? Why would you need a 22 caliber set up like that to change the patterning of the shot? Because there was a trap game. It was a game. It was an indoor shooting game using the Mo-Skeet-O. So it's like, it sounds like mosquito, but it's written Mo-Skeet-O. Trap thrower, which threw these clay birds that were like the size of a Ritz cracker, is where they're estimating it, that they were about the size of a Ritz cracker. It was a craze that people were doing this indoor shooting game with 22s. Mo-Skeet-O trap thrower. This craze supposedly died down right around when this came out, because it was only popular for like 10 or 15 years. So it was right around the late 50s that this started to, go away. It sounds really fun to me. I wonder what it was that made it disappear. But there were very few produced, as smoothbore 22s were always a specialty gun. That was amazing that there's even, look at this, there's even here's his patent. Frederick J. Rutledge, Monroe, Michigan. Application April 12th, 1937. If you want to read it, pull it up. There it is. There's this page and like half of another page. But I guess he patented the way the barrel was backbored. I don't think it had anything to do with the shells or anything. 22 shot shells have been around for a long time. And here are the patents from Rutherford. And again, it was really, I could show you. See, it says inventors down here. Kenneth J. Lowe, deceased. And then it looks like his wife, I think that's his wife's name, attached to it as ADMRX. It's like administratrix, something, administratrix, it said when it wrote it completely out. Not really sure what that word is, but I guess it means she's the one handling his end of the patent now that he's deceased. But Peter B. Rutherford is listed as an inventor also. See, there's a by after the administratrix, whatever word that was. This patent is interesting, though. Let's check it out. This is the bolt. Is this where it started? I think this is the, hold on, I'm sorry. Yeah, this was the start of the patent here. Sheet, 3 sheets. Oh, that's sheet 2. So this is sheet 1. Sorry. So first we have, see, all of these simplistic ones with the 30-something parts all have in common. And you got to remember, each of these screws holding in the trigger guard is a part. The trigger is connected. There's a fulcrum right here where it says 13. That's like a fulcrum pin, which is also another part. And then this is able to rock back and forth. And that's the safety right there that you turn back here and it'll literally just block off so it's not allowed to go forward. Tilt forward, then it can't drop the sear, which is right in here that connects to the striker right here. It's holding back the striker right here. So when you pull the trigger, you tilt this down like that, releases here, snap. And if the safety's on, see, that's why if safeties aren't, something could break here. If this broke right here, if you pulled the trigger really hard and this right here, this metal right where it says 23 snapped, if that snapped, I'm saying, it would fire. So like these safeties are just there. That's why I don't like safeties. It gives a false sense of security sometimes. Here's the internals. This just shows the bolt. This shows a cutaway of the bolt where the striker is. That's where the sear is right there. And very simple. It's just a spring, a firing pin. I mean, the firing pin like is the striker. This, it's just a couple of parts in there. And on the back here we have the bolt. So the bolt, this set screw is very important. It's listed there in the patents. This set screw is important to holding it together and how it functions. And there's also a pin. Where's that pin? Yeah, and it shows the pin here. It's what limits the bolt travel. And that's the patent. That's it. And this was, let's see, Peter B. Rutherford, Herkimer, New York, and Kenneth J. Lowe, deceased, late, of Ilion, New York, by Jane A. Lowe. There's that word, administratrix. See, you thought I was crazy, but there it is right there. Ilion, New York, assigners to Remington Arms Company, Bridgeport, Connecticut, a corporation of Delaware. Application August 27th, 1947. And Rutherford, he had some other stuff. I'll tell you what Rutherford's, in my eyes, what his claim to fame was with Remington, was Rutherford designed, see, you could take an existing patent and then come up with something that works with that patent to make another patent. You could like piggyback. So this is a Browning A5, right? And he figured out a way to have a loading system that's different. He figured out a way to do it that's different. I'm not exactly sure what. I'd have to do a lot more research. It's so much different that it even changes the bolt. Somehow it's even connected to the bolt. And if you look at the patent, here's the patent, right? He actually writes in here, they're totally giving credit. It says, this invention relates to firearms and particularly to the means for loading the magazine of a firearm. In firearms of the type, for example, that are shown in any of the patents to Browning numbers, and if you look at these numbers, you're going to see the A5. A magazine is provided below the barrel and a carrier is located within the receiver to transfer cartridges fed to the carrier from the magazine into such a position that the bolt may carry the cartridge into the chamber of the barrel. And so it's an improvement on the loading systems of the A5, which I really got to check out because, you know, the A5 is the gun that you introduce a cartridge and it slaps it right up into the chamber. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about. The A5 does some cool stuff. And this one I printed out. Usually I'll just print out the first page, but I printed out the whole entire patent because I want to read this one and understand it. So I'm holding on to this over here on the side. And I don't know what guns have that in it. I don't know. Maybe, you know how like Browning, the Remington has a version of the Browning A5? Maybe it's the Remington version that has that different loading. I got to do some research. And if so, I'm buying a Remington, what is it, a Model 11, right? I'm going to have to buy one of those. So let's take a look with the, let's poke around over here with the Brownell's Encyclopedia. We've been going to this a lot, I know, but it's really all you need. Let's adjust the light here. Better. All right, so we have the 510, which is called the Target Master. We're just going to go through these just quickly here. There's A grade, a P grade with a peep sight, an SB grade, smooth bore, no rifling, front bead sight only. Again, this was popular. This what was it called again? Mo-Skeet-O. I want one of those. I want a Mo-Skeet-O trap thrower and a bunch of those birds. I just need a mold so I can make my own clays. Indoor trap with 22 shot shells. That just sounds like a lot of fun. I have 22 shot shells. I don't even know what to do with these things. That would be an awesome, just to go for a day and do that would be fun. Maybe it was just so hard. Maybe that's what it is. I mean, trap shooting with a shotgun is hard enough. Could you imagine shooting something the size of a Ritz cracker with a 22 shot shell out of a 22 caliber rifle? Eesh. It's probably tough. 511 was called the Score Master. I like how they have a Target Master. Score Master. You could just see it sitting in the boardroom when they'd come out with the 512, being like, all right, what's it going to be, guys? What's it going to be? What would you name the 512? All right. Sport Master. Anybody think of that one? So that's the 512. The 513 was the Match Master. This is beautiful. Look at this one. This one is really nice. These really are beautiful. You can kind of see how, not talking bad about it, but then this one they really break down. But here's the 514. Yeah, they definitely took a step into the make them cheaper. Look at this. Is all the parts right here. As opposed to, you could see there's a scale down. The 11. Here's the 12. Right. Here's the 13. And then you can see with the 14, yeah, that's cheaper. Definitely cheaper. And if you notice, there's no master. There's no master name. It's just a 514. I don't think people like that. And then the 521. These were always advertised together. They must have come out very close to each other. And again, you could see there's kind of like a little drop off in parts there. I have one of these magazines knocking around, so if I ever found one of these, I'd have an extra magazine. Or finding one without a magazine, that's cheap because there's no magazine, and then I'm just, there you go, it's sitting at home and I pop it in. A 550, don't we have one of these? We have a 550-1. I didn't break it out, but I have one of these. So there was a 552G, the gallery special for shorts only. This was a semi-auto. This is an awesome gun. I like this one. Then the 552, we're back into the Masters again. This is the Speedmaster. Everybody knows the Speedmaster. It's very distinctive because of this shroud over the ejection port. See that? Like when you see one of those on the shelf or a picture of one, you recognize them. At least I do. I recognize them right away because of that. And they're very popular. See, they're going to have a lot of information here on it. Wow. Wow. I think they teach you how to build one here. Then 572, the Field Master. 22 caliber short, long rifle. This looks like a pump. Yep. Slide action rimfire. 572. That's a beauty. Do I have one of those? Why does that sound familiar? I have a Remington pump action 22. What is that thing again? I have to look that up. I think I have that rifle right there. And then we're into the 700s. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. That's the tour through the 500 series. Here's the thing. I took this thing to shoot it. I had to go. My range is under renovation. It's supposed to be back in action in a few days. If you are not looking at range shooting footage right now, that means I did not wait and just posted this thing. But I did take this to a range. My buddy that was supposed to show up and video for me, because I had to do it surreptitiously at this range because you're not allowed to video. So I had to do it on the down low. He didn't show up, so I was stuck on my own. But at least I got to test it out. The realistic snap caps right here are going to be good to show its function. It did work really good, but I had an issue, and I'm going to iron it out. And it's good because I can do a follow-up video with it maybe, and a video just on what's wrong and fixing it. So then in that video, I'd have some shooting footage. Realistic snap caps right here are really going to help out. These things are awesome. I feature them on this channel just because I think they're awesome. These are the 22 caliber versions. They have all different calibers. These things are awesome for function testing. We're going to show what this automatic ejection is using these things. Never use live rounds just to function test. If your automatic ejector isn't working right, it could turn into an automatic finger killer. So, you really want to just make sure you're using inert things when you're testing a gun. Don't test a gun with live ammo. Unless you're, at the range fire testing it, you know what I mean? Which would be the last thing you do after testing everything else. Use coupon code Milsurp Garage, one word, MILSURPGARAGE, on their website for 10% off your entire order. And trust me, go on there. You're going to see, you're going to find your caliber. I don't care. They got some obscure stuff. These rimfire ones are pretty new to them, and they're awesome. I function tested all my 22s with these afterwards, and really had an awesome time with these things. They are a real, true test of how is real ammo going to function in these, because they're not aluminum, plastic, or anything like that. The weight, the size, the same material. With these, you saw the Mossberg that we did a couple of videos ago. We actually had a ramp. It was easy. You just tossed it right in. You can't just toss it right in here. You can't just drop it right in. You ain't getting anywhere there. With this one, you can see there's just you actually have to put it right into the bore. And the bolt cocks on closing. And again, if you fire on these, I've said it before, if you drop the hammer on these, you're going to dent it. I mean, if you want to do testing to see how your firing pin is hitting, you could always use spent brass, spent 22 brass. You put it in a spot not where the dent that's already in it is, to see how hard you're hitting. But you would eventually mess these up. I would use just the spent brass for that. These are better for function testing. You can't function test with spent brass. Usually it's all fire formed to the chamber anyway. So how it's getting out, it could have been from a different gun or whatever, different chamber size, a different wear. And you're not really going to get a true feel of how it's going to eject. Even here, these are not fire forming to the chamber. So that's why you're going to see these are going to eject just fine. But I actually have a problem where these don't come out. The extractor here is grabbing it. You can see the extractor grabbed it and has it. But with mine, it's not grabbing it on the first shot. When I open it, the brass stays behind. And if I close it again and open it up, then it comes out. So I have to figure out what's going on with that. But this is what they mean. I was like, what is automatic ejector? Just because you open the bolt, like how when they were talking about, like, safety, how it's so safe because it won't fire if the bolt's not closed and the safety's not off. Like, I don't see how that's a selling point. It seems like just something to just have text in, to try to boost it up in your advertising. Automatic ejector sounds like the same thing, where they say, like, oh yeah, well, of course, you open up the bolt, the edge of the rim hits an ejector and comes out. It's not automatic. You're doing it with the bolt. I mean, you're pulling the bolt back. What's automatic about that? I'm wrong about that. I actually, so you got to check everything, because I took a close look at this. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. This is pretty cool. It is an automatic ejector. And we're going to take a look internally. Did you see that? It actually has, there is no like ejector in here. It's not catching the edge of the rim on anything. You see it dead center in the middle of the bolt sticking out? That's not the firing pin. That's the ejector. When this is closed and you start opening, it's not ejecting at that point. It's that only pokes out of there. With these, just using 32 parts, somehow they figured out, Mr. Rutherford, or was it Mr. Lowe, one of them, or both of them, figured out how to make that thing in the center of the bolt at some point as it's opening. Watch it again. Look how slow I'm opening it. So it is automatic. It's not kicking it out because of the motion of the bolt, where the rim is catching on something. If it was, it would just fall out. If that was the case, it would just lazily fall out right here. You know what I mean? But it's not. It's actually some type of spring-loaded mechanism that it's at a certain point is kicking it. I love that. Don't know how that's working, but I want to find out. And that patent doesn't show it. So let's, here's what we're going to do. We're going to pull the trigger, slide the bolt out of here, and we're going to take a little look at what's going on with this bolt. So you remember in the patent, there's that set screw already picked out, the proper, you don't want to gouge this up. I've seen a lot of these where that's all torn apart. You definitely want to make sure you get a screw bit that fits right in there, perfect like that. With this, I'm even going to be very careful. I'm going to put this flat against the table. Sorry if I'm blocking you. So I want to be flat against the table and put a lot of pressure. Now you have to be careful here. This is spring loaded. You see the compressed spring right in there. That is the international symbol for compressed spring right there. So you want to just get your finger on here good. You can see the spring loadedness of it. And when you screw this set screw far enough, I think that should be about enough. It's going to come apart. When it comes out, you have a cap. You have a spring. And you have a striker / firing pin. What could be simpler than that? And that mechanism I'm talking about, it's in here. Look at how that's spring loaded. That nose right there. And it's curved. Look at that. It's like at an angle. There's a pin holding that in. Here's where the firing pin comes through. There's a firing pin, an extractor, and an ejector all in the face of the bolt. Awesome. And this is just, this back here is just bolt body all the way up to here. So you can see this solid in there. In here is that mechanism. If I knock that pin out, I might lose the ejector, the extractor, and the ejector. Maybe both held in by the same pin. Don't know, but I want to find out. I'm really interested in that design. I love the way that looks. I love the way that functions. I like how it pops out like that, so you could operate the bolt very slow. Firing pin, back and plate. To drop it in like that right there is that's a talent, to get it all the way down in one shot like that. If you ever take one of these apart, you'll see what I'm talking about. Is it all the way down? Yes. And then the cap. You want to make sure you get the set screw where the slot is. And we screw it back down. There we go. And that's our safety. Again, I'm just going to take up the slack a little bit with my thumb. Put a little tweak on there to make sure that that's tight. Yeah, definitely not something you want to take apart a billion times. You know, you don't need to do it every time you're cleaning, I don't think. But did I put it back together right? It's not going in. Do we have to pull the trigger? Let's go bolt. There we go. And there's actually, whoops, it dry fired, but there is a decocking procedure. Where did I have this? It's on one of these sheets. Let me see. Oh, here it is. It's the instruction folder. This is pretty cool. It actually, found a lot of stuff online. I found an instruction folder. I'll show you what else after. Let me get these papers out of the way. This says to uncock firing pin. Rotate bolt handle upward, release handle, and allow bolt to move rearward by 5/8 of an inch. Be sure there's no cartridge in the barrel. Very smart. In capital letters. Hold the trigger rearward and move the bolt forward about 1/4 of an inch. Release the trigger and close the bolt. So let's try that again. It's like this procedure usually works, but it's always kind of like a trick. You never really see the manufacturer telling you about that. So there it is. It's cocked right there. So we'll open the bolt, let it go back 5/8 of an inch, or however far that was. Pull the trigger, move the bolt forward. There we go. We did. Now close the bolt. There you go. It worked. How do you like that? Remington giving you the procedure of how to decock it without dry firing it. Very cool of them. We also have, so I found stuff online. I found an instruction book. It's pretty cool. There's a lot of information on this stuff online that they have online. There's a component list. Here's the installation folder / parts price list. This was a hang tag. I think they reproduced these too. If you want to make it look like how it hung on the shelf. It's pretty cool, right? That's the Model 514, ladies and gentlemen. 1958 production. 1948 to 1970 was a nice run, huh? You see these in gun stores a lot with over 750,000 of them out there. They are an excellent, what you would call a boy's rifle, even though, like I said, there's one with a cut down barrel with a regular stock. There's one with a cut down stock with a regular barrel. The 514, in my opinion, is a man-sized rifle. It's the perfect size to just go single shot plinking with. And I like it. Very simple. I like these simple ones. Why don't we tell you what, before we go, check this out. Remember the curved takedown screw bit. We need it for this one. That's what the curved screw looks like. See how the slot is concave. Let's get in here. Look how perfect it fits in there. You definitely still, you want to put some downwards pressure, but it does work exactly as it's supposed to. And we've been here before with Stevens. We've been here before with all of them. Very simple. Oh, there's a hair in here. It's good that we went in there. It's a gray hair too. And yeah, there's the safety. All the safety really does is just turn right there so that it blocks this from moving. See that? That's all it really does. It just blocks that from moving. Whereas if it was here, now it's able to travel. Well, it's not cocked, so I think the trigger's not forward. But yeah, we got anything in here? I always like to look in here. Yeah, remember we looked in the Mossbergs? Remember I said the guy, good thing the guy didn't go out drinking with the router guy? See the difference in quality here. This beautiful piece of walnut. Excellent. Remington. Yep. So that's the that's definitely all of the 514 there, ladies and gentlemen. Find a more comprehensive video on the 514. I dare you. Were any of them talking about the Mo-Skeet-O trap and the what was it called? The Rutledge? The Rutledge barrel. You think I could find one of those? A Rutledge barreled 514? I want to play that game. I want the thrower. I'm going to look around now. I'm going to go online now, and I'm going to look to see. If I feature that on the channel, I'll be a legend. An absolute legend. If I feature the Mo-Skeet-O trap thrower. Throwing Ritz crackers. Why? Hey, wait a minute. Why don't you just use Ritz crackers? If it's Ritz cracker sized, just use Ritz crackers. You could like soak them in glue or something if you needed to make them stronger. But I don't even think you'd need to make them stronger. I think that would be like a perfect consistency. Maybe too light though. I don't know. I'm going to do some research. I'm going to get back to you. And until then, thank you to the new subscribers, everybody that's jumping on board. We've been very active lately. The channel's been showing a lot of activity because of, because I'm showing a lot of activity. So it's good. In the winter, things calm down. I kind of slow down a little bit. But I've been really happy to bring you this whole line of 22s. I think we'll do a 22 next, but maybe we'll do a 22 pistol because you pistol guys might be getting a little pissed. So I think I'm going to bring you a 22 pistol next. And then who knows where we'll go from there. And until then, you'll take care, be well, and I'll see you soon.